My name is David Hampton. I do live wedding painting. So I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. I got into painting at a young age. I started actually drawing on the floor with some kind of fill-in stencils over at my grandmother's house when I was really young, and just kind of got absorbed into it. And it wasn't until college that I picked up painting again. I realized that I wanted to paint people because I think people are beautiful, and so I went off to school and got trained classically in oil painting and figurative works. And I love doing what a lot of people don't like doing, which is painting people, because painting people is really difficult actually. We look at people all the time and we have all these little nuances to us. That makes it actually really intimidating to paint people, to paint especially people's faces, because we're always looking at them. But actually I found out that I could do that kind of well and really loved doing that. We have this idea of who people are a lot of times. It's an abstract idea. If I asked you to slow down and think of your wife's face, it might be really hard to actually picture it perfectly, you know? You know her from afar, and you could glimpse her out of a crowd, but having it perfectly in your mind is something that I think only a few people can really do. And so I think it's really important to slow down and look at people and see what makes them very uniquely them and enjoy that. It speaks to all of us in a lot of ways. The fact that we're all kind of uniquely made, and there's something to be enjoyed in that. It's worth taking the time to ponder how somebody's sitting and how their hand looks or how they tilt their head when they talk to you, and see that and take it in, because it's going to be really hard to remember that. I'm doing wedding portraits primarily because I think they have a lot to offer in an age that's very digital, where we see photos all the time. We see photos constantly. When we get our engagement shoot back, or even a bunch of photos from our wedding, there are just so many of them. And while that's really beautiful and wonderful, I think it's a good thing, that we can capture all these moments from our wedding day. I also think it's really important to convey a single moment that almost sums up the whole of who somebody is. The whole of the bride or the whole of the groom can actually be summed up really beautifully in a painting. Oil is this solid pigment that's just really standing and floating in oil, and it hardens and it lasts for hundreds if not thousands of years. But because of that, because it's an oil, if you notice at all, light, when it hits oil, it'll glow. And when you look at any kind of oil painting, what you have is this embodied glowing thing that has a bunch of life to it. And so whereas you can print off a photo anywhere, it will feel kind of cold and dead in some ways. And so I think it's really important to convey somebody in a way that actually gives a sense of their life. And I think that oil painting does that, because what you see is this energy and this movement to somebody, even though it's on a canvas. My work is a form of realism that I have coined them as ambiguous narratives. I think that the scene is provoking in a lot of ways. The way that I set it up, it's clearly staged. I use a lot of heavy lighting, which creates a lot of contrast. But by virtue of that contrast, you get a real sense of energy in the piece. The figure of the portrait is being really lit up, and then you have these heavy shadows that are behind it, which I think only highlights those spots that are really lit up. Caravaggio and Rembrandt and all these old masters, they use this stylistic technique called chiaroscuro, it means light and dark. It's really a riff off of that. It's creating these high contrast points to create a really beautiful piece that appeals to the eye. When I show up to do a live wedding painting, a lot of artistic intent has gone into it beforehand. I talk with the bride and groom about what they're hoping for in this painting and kind of work together to figure out what pose they want to be in. And I will actually have done a lot of prep work prior to, and we'll have decided on a photo and maybe pulled something from an engagement shoot or something like that. So that by the time we get to the wedding, what I'm doing is actually painting something that all of our guests can see and enjoy. But I think that it's a finished product that the bride and groom can be really proud of, really excited about, because it's hopefully a really beautiful representation of who they are. And I wanted to do wedding paintings this way because where I could paint a scene, I could paint maybe a landscape of the wedding. I think what's really important in a wedding is the bride and the groom. And so I want to show that and bring these people to life in a way that honors their commitment to each other and honors who they are as individuals. The fact that an oil painting is going to last for hundreds of years, I think that's why I strive to make these portraits really beautiful, because actually I want it to be something that your kids and your grandkids and their grandkids will have in their family, will be something that's timeless. Actually they want to enjoy because it's beautiful and it speaks to who the family is, who their ancestors are. And I think that that's really a key point in why I make wedding paintings. It symbolizes two families coming together and creating a new family. To have a piece that is going to stand up to hundreds of years of time, I think is really profound, and it's something I really want to offer to people. It's people to, remember.